way back to first semester, psoas muscles, which we see in our abdominal radiographs. And because we're doing majority abdominal radiographs, it's a very major landmark we're once again going to see on these types of exams. But also, we got to talk about our vasculature. We have the abdominal aorta and the inferior vena cava, both of which connect to the kidneys via that renal area we see right here close to the pelvis, renal pelvis. And like I said before, your urine, your waste product rather, filters from these major veins and arteries directly in the kidneys. Your urine does not come from the stomach or anything like a lot of people think. They think that they drink water, goes through your stomach and intestines, and you pee it out. No, actually the liquids are absorbed into your bloodstream. The bloodstream filters it into your kidneys, and then the kidneys filters it down to the ureters, bladder, then whenever you go to the bathroom and the toilet, through the urethra, just like that. So where are the kidneys exactly located? One of those very important landmarks we gotta make sure we know. When we're classifying where kidneys are, they are located halfway between the xiphoid process and the iliac crest, whatever it's called, iliac crest, between the levels of T12 and L3. Now here's a term that we'll hear often discussed, especially if you're around a lot of radiologists and urologists, is nephroptosis. Nephroptosis, anybody know what that means? Nephroptosis. Very common pathology. Well, not very common, but...
Inflammation of the kidneys?
Good guess, but not inflammation.
Decaying kidney?
Nephroptosis is what we call a floating kidney, or renal ptosis. And it's an abnormal condition where the kidney drops down into the pelvis when the patient stands up. So something to do with gravity actually pulls the kidney all the way down to the pelvis, but when you lay down or sit down, it goes back to its normal spot. It's really weird. Floats around. And it's more common in women than in men.
So
Yes.
is it missing like that stuff that
It's something to do with the tissues, the connecting tissues. It's just not holding it in place well. But when you stand up, you'll really just drop down to the pelvis. I don't know. I'm not sure. I would think you could feel it in your back. I don't know. I have to ask somebody that has that.
Melanie?
Melanie said she thinks she got it.
You can feel your kidney floating around?
No, I feel something like sometimes.
Something's off.
So talking more about those renal blood vessels, here's a closer look of that inferior vena cava and the abdominal aorta. And two that we want to make note of is the left renal artery and the left renal vein. Then we have the right renal artery and the right renal vein. That's what directly connects into the kidneys and filters that waste product into those kidneys. Now the area where we're connecting the arteries and veins to the kidneys is what we call the hilum. The hilum. Sounds like hilar region in the lungs, but not to be confused, there's a hilum area found in the kidneys as well. Once again, that's where that vasculature connects directly to our kidneys. Now our kidneys do have two poles. We have an upper pole and lower pole, just the top and the bottom of your kidney. Upper pole, lower pole. And do make note once again, the left kidney is slightly lower than the right. It's almost in every single person, that's universal. Yes.
Does this aorta and the vena cava have connection with the aorta and the vena cava?
I'm sorry, say it one more
The
time.
aorta and the vena cava.
Does it come from the heart? Yes.
Is that the same?
It's the same. That's the same vena cava that connects the heart. It's the same aorta that connects the heart.
Okay.
The right kidney.
Yes.
The right kidney is lower.
The right kidney is slightly lower
Oh,
than the left kidney.
what did I say?
You said the right.
You said the
kidney.
left
Did I
is
say the right?
lower.
I said the left.
Yeah, you said
Right
the-
kidney's lower. Right. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Right kidney.
Right kidney's lower, which you can obviously see by the picture there. Very good. I think you're in the wrong class, sir. Go pay your $800 and you can come back.
Ooh, don't get these folks no more money.
Oh, he went higher.
Don't do it.
I thought y'all were just giving out $20 bills.
No.
All right, so talking about that path once again of the collecting system of the kidney, guys. Make note, once we go from the vasculature to the kidneys, here is the actual path of how the fluids are collected and dispersed into waste products. Very important chart to memorize right here, guys. It's going to go from the cortex to those nephrons. Nephrons are the microscopic components in the kidneys. From the nephrons, we're going to go into the medulla region, into the renal pyramids, then to the papillae, to your minor calyces, major calyces, pelvis, and then out the ureter. And that's whenever it becomes actual urine and filters into the bladder. That is the exact path of urine, how it's made and how it flows from the bloodstream all the way to your bladder. Very important chart to memorize there, guys. Put a big star on that.
Test question?
Oh, that's a test question. Oh, yeah.
Like the order or like?
The order, yes. Yes.
Are those numbers next to them, or that just the
That's
amount
that,
that
that's
you
the
can
average of
buy?
how many each person has. I wouldn't focus
Okay.
too much on that.
Yeah.
No more so the path. So
Okay.
if you look at the diagram, guys, imagine your renal artery and renal veins connecting right here. It's filtering the waste product through these nephrons. So these little veiny looking things are, that's your nephrons. It is going to your renal pyramid, renal papillae right here. That's a little narrowing. Minor calyces are these little finger-like projections. Major calyces right here. Renal pelvis, and then through the ureter, right there. It's a lot of traveling.
It's during your, yeah.
So kidney stones, so you're saying like where the kidney stones come into play? Those are often formed right here. Right here. And they get stuck right here. Because they have these little shards, these little sharp blades on, well not blades, but these little sharp spikes, and they tear onto your ureters and push them through. And then if, once it gets to your bladder, that's the real fun part, because then you gotta pee that out, they didn't break it out, and it's tearing at your urethra as you're trying to pass it. Which is why they say kidney stones are worse than childbirth on the pain scale.
My brother-in-law just had some last week.
Did he? Was
And he sent a picture of it.
he in a lot of pain?
Yeah, he was in the hospital all day.
Question, Muncie?
So the minor calluses and the major calluses, like, is it just saying that it goes more in, or is
So
it different?
minor is where it's thin, major is where they kind of conjoin right here. Thin part, it widens. And you'll see it better on an x-ray. They look like little fingers, the minor, and they converge into a larger portion that we call the major. I'll show you on the x-ray, it's a lot easier to see it.
Look, you wanna see it?
All right, so here's the part our special guest is gonna teach whenever he comes in here. I'm gonna come back to this.
That is huge.
Ooh. Oof, that hurts looking at that. Yikes. So yeah, my soda drinkers and my energy drink drinkers, lay off the sodas, lest that happen to you. All right, I'm gonna skip past this and we're gonna come back to it whenever our guest lecturer gets here. But yes, you need to know all these parts.
Where are we at?
This is nephrons. We're gonna break down a nephron. We'll come back to that. So let's keep moving on, and we're gonna talk about our urine production summary. So we take in approximately 2.5 liters of water a day, or at least we should.
Ooh. Oh.
If you're like me and you drink all that coffee, you're probably not drinking that much water.
She said, ooh.
2.5 liters a day. And once again, when we drink H2O or liquids, it does not go into our intestinal tract. Oh, there he is. Perfect timing. Let me rewind. I saved it for you, sir. Let's welcome our guest lecturer, Mr. Norsworthy. He's going to give you guys a rundown of one of his favorite subjects, the nephron.
Can I use mine?
Mmm.
Just hit the stick.
I can send it to you. I don't know if y'all wanted that much detail like I do mine. But
We're gonna see what you and Mr. Donahue this comparison.
oh man, there's no, you can't compare us.
Oh well, Mr. Donahue out of there.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying everybody's
Shimmy.
different. It's just
He
like
brings his
this
own
is
beats to the
compared
studio.
He brings his own beats. Yeah, he look like he would do that too. Bring his own beats to the studio. Be like, y'all.
So Mr. Norsworthy is always telling, man, when you get to that urinary system, you get to those nephrons, let me come do some guest teaching for you.
I love it.
He loves talking about this subject, so. All right.
Dang. All right, guys. So we're gonna talk about the nephron. There it is. I got a fancy clicker. I got money on this side. Okay. So, and I will send this to you. I'll send this to you guys. So I really enjoy talking about the nephrons because these are microscopic units in the kidney. These are what we call the functional units of the kidney that allow the kidney to function properly and do its job. You don't even know this is happening, but this type of stuff is happening all the time. So I love talking about it because it can be really complex, but hopefully we can talk about it in a very simple form. Okay? So we're gonna talk about how it works, guys. Of course, you know, renal arteries, they bring blood into the kidney drained by the renal veins. Okay? But even more in detail than that, they have microscopic vessels within. It's almost like the kidney has double drainage within the kidney. Of course, it has normal venous drainage, but also that blood is double filtration. Okay? That blood is filtered by, of course, the renal veins, but it's also filtered within the renal corpuscle, or what we call the nephron itself. Okay? So we're going to talk about what the nephron is, the different parts of the nephron itself. Like I said, the nephron is the functioning unit of the kidney. You have approximately 1 million nephrons in each kidney. Amazing. You can't believe that's happening. 1 million nephrons in each kidney. The purpose of the nephron, guys, is to filter blood and, of course, produce urine based on that filtered blood. Okay? The nephrons themselves, they're located inside of the renal parenchyma. There is a small portion that is located inside the renal medulla. Okay? Don't worry about that sonograph part. But it is two parts of the nephron, the renal corpuscle, which is, of course, made up of the glomerulus itself right here, and Bowman's capsule. And then you have the renal tubules. And the renal tubules can be divided into 3 parts. First part of the renal tubule is the proximal convoluted tubule. Convoluted means what? It's kind of swirled around, right? So proximal convoluted tubule that exits out of Bowman's capsule right there. Okay. Then you have what's called the loop of Henle. Okay. And then you have the distal convoluted tubule. Okay. So 3 parts of the renal tubule, 2 parts of the renal corpuscle that involves the glomerulus and Bowman's capsule. Okay. All of these nephrons are linked together by the tubules right here, the collecting tubule. So it's not just like one nephron is connected to one tubule. There are a bunch of nephrons connected to the collecting tubules. Okay, so we'll talk about it. Okay, so I want to talk about a little anatomy of the renal corpuscle itself. Guys, we have the afferent arteriole. The afferent arteriole is the small artery. Y'all know what arterioles are, right? All right, they're like the distal arteries, right? At the very end before arteries become capillaries. We get to see that exchange because the afferent arteriole right here that enters into the glomerulus, okay? That's what enters into the glomerulus. This is where the filtration happens, and then that blood leaves the glomerulus via the efferent arteriole. I always tell my students to remember E is for exit, and then just remember one side, and you'll never forget it. Okay, so the efferent is for exiting. The afferent enters blood into the glomerulus. Okay, the glomerulus, guys, that's the capillary level of the system right there. That is where the actual filtration takes place. All right. So you have Bowman's capsule, guys. Bowman's capsule is this cup-like structure right there that kind of surrounds the glomerulus. Okay, and that works as the filter. That's where the filtrated particles are. The filtrate, we call it the filtrate. That's where the filtrate goes into the actual nephron right here. Okay, and like I said, blood is carried away via the efferent arteriole. Okay, and of course, all of this stuff is located in the renal cortex. So these are all the components. I got you. These are all the components of the renal corpus. Yes, ma'am.
So does it kind of like clean it out at the same time? Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. So like the components that are being filtered out of the blood include water, urea, potassium, sodium. All of those things are being filtered out at this point. Okay. And within the convoluted tubules, water is kind of being exchanged. All of these things are being exchanged, right? Because you do need some reabsorption. Because sodium and water kind of counterbalance each other, right? Depending on how much sodium's in the blood, depending on how much water you hold on to. So that's the actual anatomy of it right here, guys. So here goes the renal corpuscle. All of this stuff in the green right there. The glomerulus is just a capillary bundle of vessels right here. Okay. Bowman's capsule is that cup-like structure that surrounds the glomerulus. Okay. And this is the afferent arteriole that enters into the glomerulus, and then you have the efferent arteriole that exits from the glomerulus. Okay. Guys.
Afferent access, efferent exit.
I like that, y'all. I like that. Guys, these images right here, guys, I don't know if you guys use it, but I know Mr. Donahue used it. God, it leaves my mind. KenHub. KenHub is a great anatomical website. It's free. If you don't use it, use it. It has great explanation. It goes really deep if you need to, but kenhub.com or kenhub.org, great website to get some great pictures and help you understand a little bit.
How would you spell that?
What's that? Kenhub. Oh, it's one word. I'll skip that part. Not important. Right there. So the other part of the nephron, guys, known as the renal tubule. We talked about the corpuscle. Now we're talking about the renal tubule. Okay. 3 parts of the renal tubule consist of the proximal convoluted tubule, the PCT, the loop of Henle right there, and the loop of Henle. Okay. I always like to say the loop of Henle connects the proximal to the distal convoluted tubules. It sits right in the middle. Okay. And finally, you have the distal convoluted tubule right there that connects to the eventual collecting duct, which will go into the renal pyramids. Okay, and that's where urine is being filtrated by the calyces and things like that. Okay, so this is the part of the nephron that processes the glomerular ultrafiltrate into urine. So we're taking all of that stuff that the glomerulus was filtered from the glomerulus, from the Bowman's capsule into the proximal convoluted tubules. I heard it wasn't important that you guys know all of the, because it breaks it down real scientific. You guys need to know all of that, but do know this is where the exchange of reabsorption and absorption takes place between like water, the filtrate, the components within the urine. Okay, so it reabsorbs any necessary molecules that secretes the unnecessary and waste substances. So all of this exchange between water, sodium, all the filtrate is happening within these convoluted tubules right here. Okay, so just the flow of the filtrate goes from the afferent to the glomerulus. Bowman's capsule is going to absorb that filtrate, guys. Then it's going to go into the proximal convoluted tubule. Okay. Then the loop of Henle right here. Okay. You have a descending loop and an ascending loop of Henle. Then it's going to go to the distal convoluted tubule, and finally, all of these tubules are going to be connected to this collecting duct, which will eventually drain into the renal pyramids. Okay. And that's where the urine eventually comes out via the renal pelvis, down the ureters, into the bladder, out the urethra. Okay, so these are just some of the jobs of the different tubules right there, guys. The 3 parts of it. Proximal convoluted tubule again lies between Bowman's capsule and the loop of Henle. Okay, responsible for reabsorption and secretion. Okay, so this is where water will be placed back into the tubules. Okay, and then that filtrate will move through the loop of Henle, which is between the convoluted tubules itself. This is the part right here, guys. I don't know how important this is to you, but it's important to us that this is the only part of the nephron that extends into the medulla. Okay, the nephron is located in the renal parenchyma. Okay, but this is the only part, the loop of Henle extends into the renal medulla. Okay, or the renal pyramids. Okay, so again, like I said, you have a descending, ascending loop. They do different things. Not so important to you guys. And then that filtrate will eventually go to the distal convoluted tubule, which lies between the loop of Henle and the collecting duct. Okay, so if you just know the flow of the filtrate from the afferent tubule all the way to the collecting duct, that's really what I came in here for. I wanted to talk about it with you guys. So, do I have a little? That's just more information. I'm extra with information, so I'll send it to you. The collecting duct, guys, that's the final part right here. There can be mixed reviews on this. Is this a part of the nephron? Is it not? Most texts that I read, they said that it's not part of the nephron, okay? But this is the most distal part, okay? So this is a series of tubes that move urine from the nephrons into the minor calyces. Again, guys, you guys see right here, what are these right here? What are these right here? Loops of Henle. Guys, remember I said that's the only part of the nephron that extends into where? The pyramids, the renal medulla, okay? This is the renal medulla, this pink part right here. Okay, all of these nephrons, guys, several distal convoluted tubules you see from neighboring nephrons drain into a single collecting duct. So that green part right there, guys, that is the collecting duct right there. Okay, the collecting duct drains into this part right here. This is known as the renal papilla, or the very first part of the calyces right there. Okay. So, how does it work again, guys? Let's go. We're going to talk about. It's going to be filtered to the Bowman's capsule, right there. Then into the proximal convoluted tubule right there. We're just going to let it roll. Okay. Then the distal convoluted tubule, distal right here. And then finally into the collecting duct. All these little areas you see right here, guys, these are all the other nephrons that are connecting to this same collecting duct, okay? That eventually will drain into the calyces, okay? So, The order again, guys. Afferent arteriole, blood is filtered into the glomerulus, right? That blood exits the glomerulus via the efferent arteriole, okay? That filtrate is gonna be collected by Bowman's capsule, this C or this cup-shaped structure right there, okay? Then it'll be filtered into the proximal convoluted tubule, make its way into the loop of Henle, descending and ascending, okay? Then finally, the distal convoluted tubule will be filtered into the collecting duct, okay? And guys, that's your anatomy of your nephron right there. And again, really, really important part, 1 million nephrons in per kidney, right? Your kidney can work at about, it needs at least 30% of those nephrons to be working for your kidney to function properly, okay? So you think about somebody that has like hemodialysis or somebody that has, you know, some sort of kidney issue, diabetes or something like that. That means that their kidneys are functioning below, like they're functioning below 70% of work.
And on top of that, you have 2 of them.
Yeah, you have 2 of them. Okay, so hold on. So watch that drinking, y'all. Watch that drinking. Okay. So again, glomerulus, guys. Glomerulus, Bowman's capsule, PCT, loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubules, collecting duct, and then renal papilla, guys. That is the flow right there, this way to this way. That's how urine gets filtered from the beginning of the nephron all the way to the renal calyces. All right, there it is right there. That's more technical stuff of how it actually filtrates and what's being absorbed and what's being secreted at different parts of the nephron. Right there, not so important. Right there. That's some more pictures. I'm big on pictures. Okay, so there goes my nephron physiology right there. I do have a nephron summary coming up right there. Recap right there, guys. So ultimately, blood is filtered in the renal corpuscle. Filtered blood then moves into the renal tubule. Okay, I told you guys the components of the filtrate. It includes water, salt, glucose, urea, amino acids. Okay, the filtrate moves through the tubules. Substances needed by the body are returned to the blood. The substances you don't need will continue on into the renal tubule, the collecting tubule. Waste products, excess water, and other substances that are not needed pass through the collecting ducts as urine. They keep going. 33% of the nephrons must be capable of producing urine to ensure survival, like I was saying earlier. Okay, you need at least 33% to be working. Okay, so I don't. Do they need to know about the RAS system?
No.
Okay, cool. Not too deep. All right, guys. So my little matching little assignment right here, guys. Which structure consists of capillaries called the glomerulus? I think I just told you what it is.
Glomerulus.
The glomerulus, right? Oh, good. Go back on. The glomerulus. Which structure is surrounded by Bowman's capsule? The glomerulus.
Yes.
The glomerulus. Okay. This capsule aids in filtration of waste from blood.
The Bowman's
The capsule, Bowman's capsule, right? How does blood flow into the glomerulus?
The afferent.
The afferent arteriole, F. Okay. This U-shaped structure containing the urine from the nephrons. U-shaped. The loop of Henle. Okay. You guys don't know. I didn't talk about this, guys. It's not so important as far as the nephron physiology, but this structure right here called the juxtaglomerular apparatus that helps regulate blood pressure in the body. The kidneys are part of what we call the RAS system that, of course, regulates blood pressure. Okay. So.
Where exactly that is, sir?
Huh? Juxtaglomerular apparatus.
It's also in the Bowman's capsule?
Yeah, it's in the Bowman's capsule.
Like fast.
Okay. And number 7, guys, how does blood leave the glomerulus? The efferent arteriole. Just like Charles said, it enters, what do you say? Access afferent, exit efferent, guys. Bang. There's my lecture on the nephron. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys learned something today. I'll be back for more. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And please, if you can send that to them, that's a very great, awesome PowerPoint.
Gotcha.
Nephron. Thank you, Mr. JT.
Pass your roses to the front.
So a lot going on at the microscopic level, right? A lot more than you'd realize. But all that is very important to know from a physiological standpoint and labeling standpoint, because your registry is going to delve into that as well. Ultrasound, they get really into it. We do a more broad scope and X-ray, but they still expect you to know that info that he just presented to you. So please put that in your permanent memory bank. Thanks again, Mr. JT. Appreciate that. Oh, just present. Just go present. There you go. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so doing a summary of what we just talked about, guys, from that nephron level. So once again, when you drink water, as you should be, you're drinking about 2.5 liters a day, or at least you should be. That, of course, is going to filter through that bloodstream. It'll be filtered, and 99% of the water that you drink is reabsorbed into the body, because our bodies are made of mostly water. At least it should be, right? Unless you're a dried out husk. But 99% of what you drink is reabsorbed. And whenever you urinate, you produce approximately 1.5 liters of urine a day. It's a lot of urine. That's a whole liter and a half of a big Coca-Cola bottle, right? That's a liter bottle. That's a lot. That's how much you, at least you should be if you're healthy. If you're not producing that much urine a day, you need to increase your H2O intake. Do a little work there. All right, so just going into some of these structures a little bit more, guys. The collecting ducts, these are going to be definitions of these structures in the kidneys. Make sure you know how to identify these from a vocabulary standpoint. The collecting ducts, that's what converges to form that central tubule within those pyramids we just talked about. It's going to open at that renal papillae, drain into that minor calyx. This should sound familiar. We did hit on a lot of these pieces of anatomy just recently. Calyces are going to be those cup-shaped stems right here that we see enclose one or more papillae. And usually there'll be fewer calyces than pyramids. The minor calyces are going to unite to form the major, and not the best picture to show it, guys. The minor are these little finger-like projections you see here. They're going to converge into a larger opening that we call the major calyx. And we're going to see that really good on our x-rays here in a little bit when we introduce contrast in the kidney. Those major and minor calyces are going to really pop on those fluoro exams. They look like little fingers. I call them fingers instead of minor calyces. Like a hand with fingers. Imagine the hands, the palm would be the major calyx, the fingers would be the minor calyces. That's kind of what it looks like. All right, so those major calyces are going to then unite to form that renal pelvis. Renal pelvis is going to lie within the hilum that we just talked about. And the hilum includes our blood vessels, our nerves, our lymphatic vessels, and of course the ureter, where that urine is going to finally drain down into that bladder. Renal pelvis is also continuous with the ureter. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. That's why those wonderful kidney stones get so caught up in there. Yeah. All right, so anatomy of the ureter, guys. It is approximately 10 to 12 inches long. We're talking about ureters, not urethra. Ureters, of which you have 2. Some people have more than 2, actually. It's an abnormality. They're going to enter the posterolateral surface of the bladder. So they're going to enter somewhat from behind, not the front. And they're going to convey urine from the renal pelvis to the bladder via peristaltic contractions. Peristaltic contractions. We know that word. We just talked a lot about that. What's that mean?
The contraction.
Peristalsis. What's that mean?
It's
Those
the-
rhythmic,
Muscle
muscular contraction. So that's how that urine's going to get to your bladder. Peristalsis. Also how that kidney stone's going to get down there as it rips into your ureters, causing that wonderful feeling of passing a kidney stone. Oh, it's coming down out there. Goodness.
Lord, for real.
Wow. Oh man, I don't have to even be in a hurry. They're just stuck here anyway, right? We can get the rest of this PowerPoint.
Especially over here.
So my pastor always says in church whenever it's raining, he's like, "Oh, it's rain. I can preach for 3 hours this morning. I ain't going anywhere."
I gotta go to work. I don't know about you.
So talking about the ureters, guys, there are 3 points of constriction in the ureters. You do need to know how to identify these and label these guys. We have the uretero-pelvic junction, or the UPJ, the pelva-uretic brim, the PUB, almost said PB&J, PUB, and the uretero-vesical junction, the UVJ. These are the most common sites of renal calculus obstruction. And what's a renal calculus? I just talked about it.
Kidney stone.
Kidney stone, correct. Now, we're going to be able to identify these on our x-rays. I believe I have an x-ray image coming up next on that. But that's 3 points of constriction, 3 major landmarks on the ureter. Couldn't keep it as simple as just identifying ureters. We've got to be able to know those points of constriction as well. Oh, not the next one. We're getting to it, though. Male urinary bladder, guys. Look inside the bladder. Here's the ureteral opening. So the ureters, once again, they enter posteriorly, like we just talked about. That urine dumps down here into the inferior portion of the bladder. You get these ureteral openings, also called UV junctions. There is a triangular shape inside the bladder that we call the trigone, or trigone. I've heard it said both ways. Trigone or trigone? Y'all say trigone or trigone? I've heard it said both ways.
I don't say trigone.
Trigone sounds weird to me.
It does.
Is it trigone? Anyway, how do we know this is a male bladder, guys? Because of this gland right here, prostate gland. Prostate gland being on the exit of the bladder right there. And of course, whenever men have an infected or swollen prostate, what do you think it's going to do to that urethra?
Constrict.
It's going to constrict it, which can cause a lot of discomfort and pain in our male patients. And I'm sorry to my other males in the room, yeah, you got to get that checked out when you get older. And yes, they still do it invasively. I'm so sorry to tell you. Not to rain on your parade, all right? Oh, that was my best dad joke of the week. Come on.
On my slide, I have a gif where the guy had like a glove hand and he put gel on it and the gel just started dripping from it.
Yes. There it is. That's the image I was looking for, guys. So we can see those points of constricture on this radiograph right here. This is an IVP exam that we're looking at. Now, remember how I said you can really see those minor and major calyces pop on an x-ray? Well, take a look up here, guys. Do you see them? Look at little finger-like projections coming out? Very thin? Did you say no?
I say yes.
Oh, okay. Look very closely. There's your minor calyces. They look like little fingers. They converge into the major calyx, where I'm putting the pointer right now. And then all those converge into this triangular area we call the renal pelvis. Now, our first area of constricture goes by two different names. Make sure you know both. It can be called the pelvic-ureteric junction, PUJ, or the ureteropelvic junction, UPJ. That's the area, that first portion, that most superior portion of the ureter as the urine's exiting the pelvis, right there, renal pelvis. That's the first area of constricture. We go down to basically at the area of the pelvis where the iliac crests are. That's our second point of constriction, the PUB, pelvic-ureteric brim, right about here. So we were at the level of the iliac crest at the pelvis. We're now at the PUB. Then the last one, the third, is where it enters the bladder. That would be our ureterovesical junction, UVJ, or vesico-ureteric junction, VUJ. It's at the connecting point of the bladder. All three of those points of constricture, you need to be able to label that on a radiograph coming up on your next exam. Make sure you're paying attention to that. Of course, bladder, you can't miss it. You'll notice you can't see the inside structures of the bladder when contrast is introduced. We name things like the ureteral openings, the trigone. We can't see those unless we were actually looking at a model. Or, can y'all see that on ultrasound? Do y'all see inside the bladder, or just the ultrasound can see actually inside that bladder a lot better than we can. We're just going to see the outside portion filled with contrast. So much easier to label on a radiograph. All right, so some bladder functions and terminology. You know, I love vocabulary words. We talked about, what was our two words last chapter? Mastication, which y'all just love me saying. You just love when I say mastication, right?
No, I can't.
And deglutition. Now you masticate the food, then you deglutate it. Sounds terrible, right? Well, here's another good one for you. Whenever you gotta go to the bathroom, when you gotta urinate, don't say you gotta go urinate or go pee. Say, I gotta go micturate.
Oh, Lord.
Micturition is the actual scientific term for urinating. Aren't words fun? Micturition. Now, we all know this word. We've heard this one before, incontinence. What's incontinence stand for?
Not having control.
When you can't control your urination, or defecation, by the way. Defecation's thrown in there as well. Incontinence. Ooh, yeah. Wet and wild.
There we go again. There we go again.
Just making sure y'all still awake over here, okay? What would retention be?
To hold on.
Retaining, right. You're not able to eliminate it. Bladder does not empty completely. All right, so when do we have the urge to actually urinate? Whenever the bladder fills to about 250 milliliters. Please put a star on that number, 250 milliliters. What is the total capacity of the bladder? 400 to 600 milliliters, or about 2 cups. 2 cups full of urine. That's whenever you're on the road, you gotta go really bad, and you can't hold it anymore. There's nowhere to stop. 250 is when you get the urge to urinate. 250 milliliters, typically for most people.
Same for males and females.
So that's a very exact number.
It is an exact number. That's, well, not exact. You know what this means? Approximately. Approximately.
So it's the same amount for males and females?
Correct. unless you're pregnant, then you gotta urinate a lot. 'Cause that baby be kicking on, pushing on that bladder.
Baby's already kicking someone's face.
So basically cut back on the super big gulps when you go to the gas station.
Yes, yes. All right, guys, y'all need a break. Take a 10-minute break.
Make it
About
clear.
half